action for an hour or two. Had no intention to do the things we've done. Funny how.
Hello and welcome to day 17 of Bondcember. I am Tom.
I'm Joe.
Well, we're back to Roger Moore, but we're back to Roger Moore.
Yeah, it's a weird movie for me to talk about. I think this was my least watched James Bond movie, and it's not because I disliked it. And I watched it again, and, you know, I was like, oh, hey, there's a lot to like here. But then, yeah, I just don't like the aesthetics parts of it, which is I don't like circuses.
Yeah.
And I don't like Indian architecture and just like India stuff in general. I couldn't tell you why. It's just like I couldn't tell you what the difference between like India architecture and Ottoman geometrical stuff that like I like Ottoman and all this stuff, but it's just like I don't know. It's like it doesn't appeal to me visually, and this movie is half of one, the other half of the other, and it's just like I don't want to watch it for stupid reasons because the movie is fine. It's good.
Yeah. So basically, the plot of this one is there are Faberge Eggs. These Faberge Eggs are involved in guess who's back? It's the Russians. The Russians are back. They're back to because they are they proceed to be the villains in this you know, it's obviously we are, you know, this is 1983, you know, Soviet, you know, the USSR is slowly imploding, and a lot of this film is obviously set in East Germany. Yeah,
but
and
it's
involves
also
nuclear bombs. They're
trying to make a kinder, gentler Russia, and they're trying to make the Russia that's still, you know, villainous at the same time.
Yeah.
So we have Steven Berkoff, as he is like the villain from the 80s. He was a Russian general in Rambo 3, and he was the villain in Beverly Hills Cop. And I keep thinking he's the South African guy who says diplomatic immunity in Lethal Weapon 2, but he's not. He's absolutely not that one. But he was so present in the 80s as a villain that that I mistake him and put him in other villainous 80s roles. But we have this villainous Steven Berkoff as General Orlov, who is trying to... Okay, we can easily take over Europe, or at least Eastern Europe, and he has this plan to, you know, this very long, drawn-out plan where he's going to, like, fund it through Faberge eggs that are fabricated, and they sell them in auctions. And then there's this guy, Kamal Khan, who's kind of his money man, and then there's Octopussy, who kind of runs guns for it, and, you know, other things. And it's surprisingly a lot of plot where basically the militant side of the Russian army is trying to start a war, or, you know, trying to make an excuse for them to invade Eastern Europe. And it's all of these things are the plot leading to that. And everything else is just like, how do we get from here to here to here? Yeah.
I mean, I will say this has got, you know, considering it's juggling two definite villains and one sort of, you know, anti-heroic, sort of anti-villainous figure in obviously the form of Mort Williams' Octopussy. It does cover sort of a remarkable amount of sort of terrain in sort of this film, and it is very much sort of, you know, this, you know, some of the more films have been, you know, a little bit flabby or a little bit slow getting started. This goes, nope, we're gonna go straight from this to that to the other to the other to the other, and it covers a lot of ground. I will say this, it does, you know, it doesn't feel like over 2 hours. It is, you know, a well-paced, well-made film. And certainly
Yeah.
considering like the last time Bond went anywhere near sort of Southeast Asia, the sort of the Asian got the entire Asian continent, we got the Man with the Golden Gun, which is relatively relatively good.
But it's like the thing is, thankfully in India they don't make like the poor kids or the poor people around the punchlines to the joke, or it's at their expense. I mean, there's like somewhere like they're gonna start tossing money around, and like there's this big pile of money that lands in somebody's like, and he's like, hey, but it's like it is not James Bond like trying to goad a poor child to get the boat working, and then when he does, he just throws the kid off, and it's just like, it's like, fuck you too, Bond. But no, there's nothing like that. It's just like they go to India, and it's like you think the worst, and especially when you have a villain named Kamal Khan played by Louis Jordan. Louis Jordan, yeah. He's very good. I mean, he's solid. He's sort of solid villain. He's sort of like, he's, is he a particularly good person? Is he a particularly bad person? Well, he's really evil. Oh, okay, fine. He's working with the Soviets. He's even more evil than them. Yeah, and he's fine, but it's just like then you get to like the actual characters who are Indian, and they're actually good. It's like you have his assistant VJ, who is I thought I recognized him from somewhere. It's like this guy. He is really charismatic, and he's played by Vijay Amritraj. I'm sorry, I'm terrible at Indian names, but he was a tennis star from my tennis period when I was a kid. So I mean, I remember him playing a little bit, but he's mostly a tennis commentator. And it's like, so that's why he doesn't have this, big film career, because he was a tennis commentator after being a tennis star for a few years. So, he's doing that. Okay, so good for him. But VJ is a very charismatic, very, well-to-do, nice. Like they go and he's the contact in India, and he's like, I mean, granted, he starts off, he's a snake charmer, but then he goes, he's telling him what he knows, and he's like, oh yeah, I play Kamal Khan, I play croquet with him at the club, and he's very well-to-do, very well-spoken, and extremely nice, very charismatic guy, and and they have multiple people like this in India, and that's nice. Okay, I'm glad we're not just stepping on it. Granted, I think it's because like India does not belong to Great Britain anymore, and you don't want to cause an international incident by being crappy to your former colony, I guess, but they have before.
Yeah, it is very much sort of like it's basically, okay, they're English speaking and we're relatively good terms with them and we play cricket with them. Yes, the Indians, yes.
Oh yeah, but that's not the whole story.
Yeah. Oh god, no, absolutely not. No, I mean, I will say this, like, this is a very good film up until, and I think this is like a problem a lot of the Roger Moore films have. Their setups are very good. Mm-hmm. And then they get to their last third and they sort of go, oh crap, now we got to be a James Bond film. And it's like, because, this is a relatively, you get particularly in the figure of Octopussy, who is this really, interesting, and I feel it's like the first time we've had a quote-unquote Bond girl who has been, Bond's match for a while, because obviously, but it's sort of interesting because it also does, considering that sort of there is a scene on which sort of it explores the relationship of, Bond with her father, who obviously, is given the choice of being brought in or an honourable sort of death by suicide, and it's sort of going, okay, Bond can be, this very interesting figure, and then it goes back to, stupid stuff.
Yeah, they get this one thing, and then it's back to being this goofy heist, and she's on his side now, and then uses all the girls who have the outfit of Thing 1 and Thing 2 from Dr. Seuss's The Cat in the Hat.
Yes.
And it's just like, I couldn't figure out what was bothering me about that. Then it just hit me. And it's just like, oh, it's another aesthetic thing that is bothering me.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, she's in charge of an octopus cult. Owen runs a circus.
Yeah.
Owen runs a circus.
Yeah.
About woman of many talents.
Yeah, so Octopussy runs a... So we have Pussy Galore runs a flying circus, and I guess Octopussy has more of a ground pound. I am so sorry. I had that joke in my head this entire time.
To the corner with you.
It was in my head and it had to leave.
No, I mean, it is very much sort of like, I think it's like non-coincidental that like the two relatively strong, powerful Bond, not, I hesitate to say the word villainess because neither of these characters, the two sort of foils to Bond are both fairly sort of lesbian coded. Because they both surround themselves with women, and they're both sort of very, professional. And it's like, I'm sort of like, I see, right. And it's not something that the Bond franchise really gets right until sort of the 90s. But yeah, and I think I know what the biggest problem with this film is.
Okay.
It's Roger Moore. It's like everything else with this film is solid, It's a solid premise, it's an interesting plot. It's sort of, it covers enough ground without sort of feeling either too slow, too quick. It juggles, three antagonists fairly well. And then you've got Roger Moore, and Roger Moore is... I don't know, with this and A View to a Kill, it's just, they are well-made films, and then just Bond in the middle of them is just... I'm trying to think of the correct word to use, other because it's not tired. It's like
disinterested.
Yeah, very disinterested. There are a couple of scenes where it's like it starts to feel more like the original Roger Moore, which ironically is the circus scene. Where it's like, where he disguises himself as a clown.
Yeah, and I have some issues with that scene. We'll get to it.
Oh god, yeah, but it's like, this is the one moment where you go, if Moore's Bond is like a more, you could never imagine Sean Connery doing this, although he dressed up as a teddy bear several decades later. But we won't talk. We do not talk of that. It's something you could imagine Moore's Bond doing, because Moore's Bond is a lighter and a gentler take on it. You could imagine him going, right, what is the way to get in here? Right, I've got to dress up as a clown. Fine.
My only thing is there's this ticking clock, and there's like 5 minutes left, I think, when he does that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, getting the makeup on alone would run out the clock.
Oh god, yes. I just have this amazing scene of him just sort of slapping his face with it. So I'm excuse me, I've got to
just like dumping it on his face, and then just like covering his hair, dumping it on his face, like adding some details, and run
quickly. Oh dear, and it's just like absolutely, but it's just like Roger Moore has clocked out at this point. It's like he's there, he does the action scenes. They're all fairly solid. But Roger Moore is just, there is nothing with this, like, even the sort of the romantic foil, even the sort of, there is a scene where he sort of plays backgammon again, with like rigged dice against Khan, and it's, this is in another Bond film, this would be a really interesting and really tense sequence. In this, it is boring.
Yeah.
And it's really sad to sort of see, everyone else in this film working so hard when Moore is just clocked out.
It's just there.
He's just there.
And I don't really have any opinions about it as a performance. It's just like, it's a Roger Moore, James Bond, and it's just like a standard one. Granted, I should note this is my brother's favorite one, because this is the first one he ever watched.
Yeah.
So there's that one. But me, it's fine. But it's, what saves it is that the movie is really well done, especially a lot of the chase scenes. I mean, it is kind of stupid, it's kind of silly, and it kind of goes all over the place, plot wise to get to a very basic thing, but it is, as a clothesline for action sequences, it is fine. Like there's the opening sequence where James Bond is in some sort of communist place where it is just across the border from like an American gas station, and I'm like, where are we? Because it isn't Mexico. It is like Canada didn't suddenly have this, Cuban-like dictator. What is going on? But yeah, they have this, air sequence that is really good, and it like justifies that it doesn't make any sense. And then they go to India, and they have this like cart chase, which is really well done, and it uses a lot of India, and it goes on for a long time, and it's really interesting. And they have VJ, who is now I understand why they haven't had a tennis fight in the middle of the chase, but he's very good in it. And then they go to East Germany, and then there's a train kind of this. It starts off as like hide and seek, because James Bond is hiding, and he's obviously very outnumbered by a lot of people who want to kill him. But it does its job, and then it moves to where James Bond is on the outside of the train trying to get on the inside, and that's really well done. But it was so real that a stuntman got horribly injured doing that.
Yeah.
And then it all leads up to like, the one post-conflict thing that, the main conflict's over, so we have to wrap up this stuff with the villain where they're trying to escape on a plane, and they're having this fight on the outside of a plane, and this is like, it is really well done, and it really works, and all of these action sequences work, and then they make the movie itself work, even though it does have some obvious shortcomings, and they kind of dump Maud Adams' Octopussy to like, she is a really interesting character, and then it just drops to like woman who is being held hostage and or something, and then they have to have like this really weird coda where like, okay, movie's really over, we can't, why are we having this heist in the middle of it? But
it's just very much.
But yeah, it is a really done movie where the action sequences are dynamite, and it overcomes its shortcomings.
Yeah, I would agree with it. It's solid. It's a solid film, and particularly the two aerial stunts in this film are absolutely breathtaking. It's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Okay. I don't know if we have anything else to say about this movie.
No, it's like, so yeah, tomorrow we.
It's one of those movies where, well, I don't want to overdo it because we got the Living Daylights coming.
Oh god.
But it's fine. It's fine.
It's fine. Yeah. So tomorrow, moving on, we'll be bidding Roger Moore a fond farewell as we talk about A View to a Kill. See you tomorrow.
Bye bye.